So according to my files from the 2019 Giro d'Italia, on stage 1, I burnt 5,487 calories straight off the bat. Then on stage 2, 4,496. Stage 3, 5,845. I mean, keeps on going like this. Stage, what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 518 calories. Oh no, wait. That was a warm-up for a TT. Okay, one more example. Stage 20, 7,327 calories. 3 weeks later. If you ride a Grand Tour, you need to consume a lot of food. So in this video, I'm going to give my advice on how to do just that. So when you take on your next big day on a bike, you'll know exactly what to do. Okay, so you can't just ride around fueled by kebabs. I wouldn't advise it. I did once think this was a good idea back when I rode my first Grand Tour, the Vuelta. I mean, you get hungry, very hungry. So why not indulge? I indulged. And to be honest, it rewarded me with very, very bad stomach problems, gastric reflux and indigestion, to name but a few. You'd think on those 7,000 calorie plus days on the bike, it would work out if you just consumed as much food as possible as a strategy, but that really didn't work for me. So instead, this is what I've learned. In the months and weeks leading up to your big event, get yourself used to what you're going to eat. Now, this doesn't mean just practicing using the same types of food, but also practicing the total amounts of food you're going to eat. Choose some days where you really replicate what you'll have to eat on your big day, on your big ride. Now, when I experienced that gastric distress in the Vuelta, I wasn't really used to eating what I was during those stages because I'd been training, trying to lose a bit of weight and not eating quite as much. And when I got to the Vuelta, I was having to eat really high volumes of food and I just couldn't cope with it. So that is a big piece of advice. Try to get yourself used to what you need to eat before you get to the race. But let's hear from Scheirlynck on her advice leading up to a big event.
To get used to the amount of food you need to eat during the Giro or another Grand Tour, it's of course important to prepare yourself, to prepare your body. And there are training sessions where you train at a high intensity or during a long duration, which needs or asks for more energy as well. So a lot of riders used to not eat enough during training, and then suddenly you come into a Grand Tour and there you need to make the switch, which isn't possible if the last few weeks you have been on a diet or you have been watching your weight a lot. So what we try to do, if a rider still needs to lose some weight, we start a lot in advance. So we take a longer time to have a slower decrease in body weight. And then this way you can keep fueling well for longer and harder sessions. Even if a rider still wants to lose some weight, we will never make that difference before and during the rides, because then you will also negatively affect your training quality, which of course is super important.
How much should you eat though? That is the question. Well, when it's spread all in front of you, it does look like quite a lot, but the recommended advice is to try to consume around 90 grams of carbohydrates per hour. So that looks like something like a bar, a gel, and a scoop of sports drink mix in your bottles. Now, Enovit actually have an app on their website which really takes the guesswork out of what you should eat per hour. Now, they look at things such as your weight, your riding style, how long you're going to ride for, and your riding intensity to really give you some valuable information on what you should consume every single hour and break it down into certain types of foods. I think the key is the right balance. Of course, you don't want to consume too little, but at the same time, if you eat too much, you will feel bloated and maybe suffer those gastric issues that I talked about and just not quite feel as energetic as if you did get your nutrition strategy bang on.
Every stage is different in a Grand Tour, so there are some stages where it suddenly seems like a classic one-day race, very hard and a lot of hills, and sometimes the temperature doesn't make it easy as well. But then on other days, it's more or less not a coffee ride. It will never be a coffee ride, but sometimes you see, like in the typical flat stages, 180k or 200k, where riders even have time to have a chat and then suddenly in the last 20K, okay, they start organizing themselves for actually just the sprint in the end. But there's a big difference between those stages. A time trial is different than a longer stage. So what we try to do, or what I try to do, is in the winter time and in the preparation period, is trying to educate the riders to define themselves what kind of day it is. So at home you also have a rest day or a hard day or something in between, and I give them more like a color, so that they know, okay, today is just a green day, or oh, it's gonna be a red day. Must make sure that tonight, because tomorrow is a red day, I need to fuel up. And this is also the way that we work. We have a great chef now in the Giro, it's Mirko, who really knows also what do I put on the buffet. And the buffet looks totally different. If tomorrow is a rest day or an easy stage, there will be more potatoes, sweet potatoes, a lot of vegetables, some protein, of course, but not the huge amounts of pasta and rice, which we have when there are harder days coming.
A good rule of thumb is to try to eat little and often, and not having 3 real square meals a day. You need to kind of get into cycling logic, cycling meals. So you need to think breakfast, then a small snack on the way to the race, always staying hydrated. Then thinking about your nutrition in the race every hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and a post-ride meal, water again, protein shake, having another meal potentially if you're hungry between massage and dinner, smaller dinner, and then maybe a snack before bed, protein-rich yogurt, handful of nuts. You're always trying to break it up throughout the day, not having one big whack of food that will send your blood glucose sky high and then potentially give you a big slump as well. You need to be maximising your time to get that glycogen back into your system and back into your muscles. What should you do before you go to bed? Well, this is a time when you can really cram in lots of food and often snack quite a lot as well. It's an easy time to snack, but I'd try to have a bit of a break before you go to bed. Maybe leave 1 or 2 hours before you go to sleep, just to allow your body to recover a bit and digest all the food it's eaten throughout the day. If you have your main meal and then go straight to bed, I always found it didn't really work for me because I'd end up sweating loads and, to be honest, not sleep as well during the night. So I'd often leave 1 or 2 hours before bed. I'd have a little walk after dinner. And if I was really hungry, then I'd have a high protein snack with a handful of nuts, and I'd make sure to keep sipping on water throughout the evening. But really try and avoid having your main meal and then just sitting down, doing nothing or going straight to bed, because it really doesn't help in my opinion.
So when riders finish the race, the first thing we do is let them recover as quickly as possible from what they just did. So the first thing they will always do is drink a recovery shake to have some protein and carbs, which you can also take in solid food. But the problem there is that your digestion needs to work on it first, and we need those protein and carbs as quickly as possible in their muscles. So that's why we prefer a drink, which is fluid, goes very quickly. Muscles can use already the building elements to rebuild their muscle and to give them some energy for the next day already. But then the problem might be that there's a long transfer ahead, so that they need to drive 2 or 3 hours, and then they first get their massages, and when do you have dinner? It's very often very late. And for me, dinner is important in relation to the next day. So the recovery first is recovering their muscles of what they just did. So the faster they can eat, the better. So our chef always prepares a recovery meal to put in the bus, which they take after the recovery shake. It can be a pasta salad, a rice salad with some chicken or tuna or lentils or something, protein and carbs combined. And mostly we have some pancakes or another cake, some cookies or that he baked, so that there's some choices. But most riders prefer something salty because they have been drinking and eating a lot of sweet things already.
For those of us that find it hard to eat on the bike, gels are your saviour. Don't think that you need to necessarily just eat these at the end of the ride. You can take them anywhere, really, and because they're so easy to eat, you just tear off the top and whack it in, making sure you take your litter home with you, I must add. But for this reason, they're great on descents or climbs where you might otherwise struggle to get the food into you. Quickly reach back, get that energy and important carbohydrates back into your system. Now, they're easy to digest, they're easy to consume, they're also really easy to carry. So they really do make the perfect addition to your riding nutrition. And I really heavily relied on them in stages, and I took quite a lot with me. I tried to consume one every 20 minutes or so. And if you want a really easy gel to get your hands on, this is brilliant. So this is a bit smaller, credit card shape. All you have to do, simply fold it like this and then eat it. Gel comes out just in the middle there, so you don't have any waste and you don't mess around trying to tear it off with your teeth, which can be a bit tricky sometimes. So, great tip. Drink mix is another brilliant way of packing the calories in, and if you do struggle with eating during a ride or during a big event or race, it's a brilliant way of managing to eat without having to worry about unwrapping food or potentially, putting your hand in your pocket during stressful moments and concentrating on eating. Simply just sip away on your bidon throughout the hour. But there is a caveat. So remember, in drink mix, like this isotonic drink mix, for example, there's 25 grams of carbs per serving. So if you did have 2 bottles per hour, that's 50 grams, plus all the food that you'll consume, you can quickly overconsume food and really put some pressure on your stomach to digest. So remember, there's carbs in your drink mix. It's part of your hourly total, and weave that in. You need to think about it in conjunction with the food that you're eating, which is a point that Stephanie also makes.
To define how much you need as a rider during each stage, riders know exactly how much they need, and we start with our drink. So we have an isotonic sports drink, which Innervit made especially for us, and which we can actually define the dose based on weather conditions or the type of stage. Sometimes it's going to be a hard, rainy day or a lot of wind, dangerous, where you cannot really eat enough. And then we decide to put more energy in the drink. Or when it's super hot and easy to get to the car, to get other new drinks during the race, then we lower the dose of energy, so carbs in the drink, and then riders know we need to eat some extra, or we drink enough and a lot. So the range is somewhere between 60 grams of carbs per hour and 90, 100, some even more than 100 grams of carbs per hour, which in scientific research, you will always find that the maximum is 90, but actually we see and we experience that some riders can go a lot higher. And also as a recreational cyclist, the more energy you can fuel during the time where you need it the most. So when you are riding, well, the faster or the longer you will go.
When you finish, you need to think about that post-ride snack and getting something in ASAP. That is why a recovery shake is so valuable. You want to start replenishing that muscle glycogen as soon as possible and thinking about the next day's riding. A recovery shake replaces all that glycogen and provides proteins for muscle recovery, all in one handy gulp. So chug it down, get it in straight away, but also think about your post-ride meal too. You want to consume something in just under an hour after you finished your ride, event or race. And Stephanie, as it happens, has some great suggestions on brilliant post-ride snacks and meals.
When you want to make a recovery meal yourself, it's always important to have both protein and some carbs, just because that's a very good combination to recover. If you only have the protein, then you're missing some energy, so your body reacts to the carbs and then the protein get in with them. That's just easily said. But protein you can get from something like fish or seafood or chicken, or a plant-based alternative, of course. And The carbs, I would say you can look at what kind of training you did. If it wasn't super hard, then just a normal meal will be fine, and then you can add some potatoes, sweet potatoes. If it's been a long session or a very hard one, I would add some pasta, some rice, some quinoa, some cereals, because in the same volume as potatoes, they contain a lot more carbs. So you can look at how hard your day was, and also maybe on what's coming. And of course, some vegetables, some healthy fat, like some nuts or some olive oil. So you just a healthy, balanced meal actually, but maybe a bit bigger in quantity. And then the type of carbs, I would look at how long your day, your training was, and how hard. The importance of recovering quickly is, well, it depends. If you're riding the bike 3 times a week and rather recreational, so for fun, but not really training, just relaxing, enjoying cycling, then you can have your meal, I would say, somewhere within 2 hours after you finished, because you still have some extra days to recover. But in a Grand Tour, where it's every day refueling for the next day, for the next day, for the next day, it's all about timing. And there we say, try to take your shake within 30 minutes after the finish. And the recovery meal, well, the shake gives you some time because it fills you up a little bit, but then like half an hour later, take your meal, because you need to keep the protein and the carbs coming. And of course, the amount of energy that they burn every day is a lot higher than when you're sitting like me on a desk now. So it's all about, and the amount at the end of the day, but also the timing. The quicker you recover, the better you are prepared for your next session.
Okay, so that was how to fuel at the Giro, or any Grand Tour for that matter, or any really big ride or multi-day trip that you're planning on your bike. Thanks again to Stephanie Scheirlynck for all the information and the tips on how to fuel correctly. Really appreciate it. But please let us know in the comment section below if you have any advice you'd like to share and what you'd like to consume on big days on the bike yourself. Please let us know in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. I've just been left in a room with a load of food. So see you on the next video.